Good morning. As our time at Brooks comes to an end, it is bittersweet looking back on all the memories and moments that made our experience here so amazing.
Kate and I met freshman year in Merriman. We lived across the hall from each other, me with my roommate Daria, and Kate with Catherine Payson. At first, we didn't like each other. We're both very different and did not immediately click. After our first term at Brooks, our dorm comments represented just how different we both were.
Caroline's dorm comment, written by Miss Rooney, showed concern over her loud voice, lack of focus during study hours, and disruption to the dorm. Mine, also written by Rooney, showed concern over me being homesick, anxious, and nervous. To this day, Caroline and I still don't know why our dorm parents thought I was struggling so much.
Our friendship really started after I pulled my first official prank. One night, Elena, Jackie, Kate, Catherine, and I were walking back to Merriman after dinner. It was the famous week that the author of Enrique's Journey, Sonia Nazario, was visiting. As we passed Mr. Packard's house, I saw Naima and Rome Bodenfried walking in front of us with a lady none of us had ever seen before. A few seconds later, Jackie said, "Guys, do you think that's Sonia Nazario?" Kate, for some reason, got really excited. I had no clue who the lady was, but I did not think it was Sonia Nazario. But feeding off Kate's excitement, I said, "Kate, that's Sonia Nazario. You should definitely say hi."
Me, being incredibly naive, went up to the woman and said, "Hi, are you Sonia Nazario?" The woman then went on to say to me, "No, honey, I'm Miss Chanel's mother."
We all died laughing as Kate literally melted with embarrassment.
The embarrassment for me did not end after that night, and funny enough, our friendship only grew stronger after that moment on Main Street. Later that year, on one of the revisit days, my cousin was visiting Brooks. At the end of the school day, I was saying bye to my cousin's family in the dining hall. There was a lot of commotion because it was the sport and club fair. I hugged my aunt and cousin goodbye and turned around to say goodbye to my uncle. I started to hug him and say, "Goodbye, Uncle Robbie, thank you so much for coming," and the response startled me. "Of course, thank you for having us." The voice was so foreign to me that it caused me to step back. The voice was not that of my uncle, but the math teacher I had never spoken to, Mr. Burbank.
Witnessing that moment provided me with the most secondhand embarrassment I had ever had. At the end of the year, Kate and I decided to be roommates. We returned back to Brooks, excited for the year ahead, but dreading dorm life. We were placed in Gardner, on the other side of campus from our friends, and living with who we thought at the time were the scariest girls in the school. Right off the bat, sophomore year became the year of pranks.
Caroline definitely had a twisted mind when it came to pranks. It was her idea to shut the lights off in each individual room and see who would come out into the hallway to see what was going on. Little did we know, one of the first lights we turned off were seniors Julia Moore and Catherine Monstadi. Shortly after that, we turned off Elise Donovan's lights and really became scared. Funny enough, this uncomfortable moment in the hallway of Gardner led to a friendship with these seniors.
The pranks only continued after this. One of the pranks that definitely went the most wrong was the donut prank. Charlotte Harvey had an old box of crusty donuts from Dunkin' in her common room. We crafted the idea to send a group text and tell everyone that there were donuts in the common room. After Charlotte sent the text, the three of us sat in our room and listened to our dorm mates running down the stairs. As Ashley Houlihan opened the box, she found moldy old donuts and began to scream and swear. Little did all of us know, Miss Gilbert and Mr. Latham were having a meeting and heard all the commotion. In classic fashion, Kate took the blame in the hallway as Charlotte and I hid under my bed, dying laughing.
When we came back from winter break, Caroline and I were dreading our winter term. We were placed in the Titanic and were mortified to put on a play in front of the whole school as just sophomores. The first day, we were assigned our roles. I was casted as Jack and Caroline as Rose. As the performance approached, I got more and more nervous. During class, I would want to practice lines, and Caroline would just say, "Kate, don't worry, we'll know them on the actual day." However, my nerves really peaked a few minutes before the show began.
Mr. Davis brought us into the old black box to meet before the performance, and all we could hear was loud stomping and screams. The screams grew louder as Priyanka and Allie came into the room. I was happy to see them, but before I could prepare to stop her, Kate slammed the doors in their faces and screamed, "Get out." She needed to prepare. The rest of our class sat in awkward silence, concerned about Kate's nerves. I mean, it was literally just a winter term play that no one had expectations for.
Pretty early on in the performance, Caroline's wig went flying off, leaving her with just a black hairnet. Caroline, out of humiliation, would not stand up. She remained on the floor, covering her head as I screamed, "Get up." Soon after this, Caroline, who claimed she would know all of her lines by the performance, forgot basically a whole scene of lines. Me taking the whole thing very seriously got pretty angry at her, whispering, "Caroline, come on." However, what got the two of us through the performance was the constant laughter from the crowd, specifically Mr. Dobbins and Rooney's loud laughs. Looking back, Caroline and I can easily say that the Titanic was so worth it because it gave us the confidence and self-esteem to take a risk.
After sophomore year, Kate and I moved across campus to head east. Fall of our junior year, Kate and I played a sport together for the first time.
During field hockey preseason, I was pretty nervous to be trying out for the team as a junior, knowing that there were already 9 juniors on the team, and the other junior trying out, Caroline Yance, was kind of a shoo-in. One of the nights during preseason, Lucy and Caroline were crying to Stacy because they genuinely feared that they were going to get cut. In that moment, I remember being so annoyed with them because Lucy and Caroline were already on the team and I was the underqualified junior trying out. Stacy and Amat somehow found the kindness in their heart to take me, and for that, I'm so thankful.
We were both in no way experts at the sport of field hockey and faced our own individual struggles throughout the season. One of our first official practices together as a team, we were practicing a shooting drill and it was Kate's turn to go. I was startled when I heard screams and Kate's awkward ahs. I looked up in the sky to see Kate's stick go about 12 feet in the air and miss Quinn Healy's head by just an inch. Everyone else in the field stood there in a shock as I broke out in laughter screaming, "Classic Kate."
As the season went on and we began 3v3s at practices before games, I began to notice that people were planning their teams ahead of time by wearing matching outfits. This was because the field hockey team was filled with people like Lucy Verdone and Caroline who only wanted to be a part of winning teams. I lacked the skills that would make me a desirable teammate, so no one ever asked me to wear the same color shorts. One day when I got to the dorm from class and was getting ready for practice, I put on a pair of white shorts. All of a sudden, Caroline peered her head into Lucy's loft, whispered something, and the two of them changed out of their white shorts. This honestly didn't hurt my feelings because I knew they wanted to win and I just wasn't the best candidate.
While that might sound harsh, we actually didn't mean any harm. Kate actually added all the fun for me and Lucy in field hockey. Every practice and every game, Kate was always there to simmer me and Lucy's competitiveness. I mean, if it was not for Kate, Lucy and I probably wouldn't be friends due to some stupid 3v3 fight. Kate's positive attitude taught us that field hockey should be both fun and competitive.
Caroline and I have had our own individual athletic and social struggles, but we both share the same academic struggle, math.
Beginning in middle school, Kate and I were the students that were called into the special room for math help. We never really knew until later that the reason we were being called into this room was because we were so bad that we couldn't keep up with our classmates. Our naive selves just thought we were part of an elite group of students.
This trend only continued when we came to Brooks. At the start of freshman year, I was in the lowest possible math class, Algebra 1. Caroline was in a hybrid course taught by AMAT that learned Algebra 1 and geometry in the same year. After only a few days, Caroline was sent down to my math class. Like her middle school self, Caroline was oblivious to the fact that the reason she was moved down was because she needed extra help. That Algebra 1 class, taught by Mrs. Goodman, connected me and Caroline as friends and students. Sophomore year, this trend continued. Caroline and I were placed in 2 separate classes of regular geometry taught by Mr. Naum. Right off the bat, Caroline and I were lost. We could not keep up with the intensity and speed of this regular sophomore year geometry class. As the first test got handed back, I noticed that the classmates next to me got pretty low grades. When my test was returned, I was not given a grade. Instead, I got a "please see me" in bold red marker. Immediately, I left the class crying and found Caroline in the hallway, who also had the exact same experience earlier that morning. Our grades were so low that Mr. Naum felt bad putting them on paper. Like always, Caroline and I realized that we were behind the pack in our math class and needed to make a change. That change was AMAT's regular geometry class filled with familiar faces from our Algebra 1 class.
Junior year, Kate and I finally felt like we were in the right math classroom. We were in Mr. Price's regular Algebra 2 class with many of our classmates from the past years. In the beginning, it went very well for both of us, but this changed when Kate's newfound confidence in math went straight to her head. She became the student that asked a million questions and would constantly remind the teacher to assign nightly homework. I still hated math, even with Mr. Price's humor. I dreaded every single minute I spent in that classroom. It was the first year that Kate and I were on different pages in math. But finally, for senior year, Kate and I were back on the same page. Kate, like her younger self, had to switch out of Dusty's advanced pre-calc class, and I am currently crying every day in Dusty's discrete class, no matter how many times I tell myself it's senior spring. Like all the embarrassing moments from our 4 years at Brooks, math has always been a challenge, and now we've learned to look back and laugh about it.
Caroline and I often wonder which year at Brooks was our favorite.
Was it the innocence and embarrassment of our freshman year?
the laughs and risks of our sophomore year,
the happy and sad memories of junior year.
or the bittersweet nostalgia of senior year.
The truth is, we can't decide because every year at Brooks has been so special and meaningful in its own way.
Caroline and I both learned here during our 4 years that it is important to laugh through the hard times, whether it be in math class, on the athletic fields, in a theater performance, or just an embarrassing moment. Brooks has given us the platform to grow and be who we are, and for that we are so thankful.
Thank you.